Hello, everybody. Welcome back with another episode of the Wild Cabin podcast. It's definitely gonna be a big mental health episode. Something that I think I've experienced a lot, and majority of people out there definitely have experienced this. But I would like to talk about grieving. Grieving is a very big part of life, and it's hard to get over it. Let's be real with you. But in the way of Robin Williams's mind, great man, great comedian, and great person in general, he said, why look at death as a horrible thing? Why can't we just look at it as laughter at the end of the day? And instead of fearing death, you laugh at it because you know it's going to happen, and you might as well just accept it right off the bat. And that always stuck with me, and I found it very interesting because he's absolutely right. Why has death become such a bad thing that we fear it, we loathe it, we get miserable over it? And I think we're accustomed to that because the bonds that we share with the people that have passed on, and the love that we had, and now when you wake up the next morning, they're not there. They're not there to comfort you, they're not there to hold you anymore, and it's just hard. Your life gets harder because of someone's death. And then on the standpoint is, if when they die and they have your wake or funeral, you're supposed to celebrate the joy after all the tears that you just cried. And it's such an emotional thing. And grieving is a very important topic because a lot of people experience it in their own way. I mean, sure, majority of people go through the 7 stages of grief after death: shock, aka denial; pain and guilt, like you had something to do with it; anger and bargaining; depression; loneliness; then an uphill turn, if you will, and then you're trying to reconstruct your life back together without them, and then acceptance. Everybody, majority, goes through that. Some people skip depression and they just have more anger, and it's those are the 7 steps. But some may have only 5, some may only have 7, some may even have 10, believe it or not, because you could just, after a painful death and when you love someone, you could be stuck in a slump for many moons. And it's very interesting, and I want to talk about this because it is such an important thing where so many people, including myself at one point in my life, we lock our emotions away. Why have emotions where life is just easier to feel nothing at all? And it's an eye-opener. It truly is, because you're just like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh, I feel nothing. It's not that I didn't love them, it's just like I feel nothing. My brain process is very weird over the years. At one point in my life, I always expected the worst. I'm like, okay, everybody I know and love is going to leave me, and that's how I got to think about it. And that's how my mental state is, where you could be my friend, but at the end of the day tomorrow, or the end of the day today, you won't be there. And when you do, it's like an absolute shock. It's a gift. I'm like, oh, wow, you're still talking to me? That's how my middle school and high school brain was, where I'm just like, oh my god, I'm not trying to give you the cold shoulder, but I don't take anything for granted. Be like, what makes me so special that you're gonna talk to me or be friends with me? That's how my brain process was with everybody I talked to. And I'm like, oh my god, like, I never, very later on is when I called people true friends, because like when you're young in elementary school, you don't know any better. And then when you get to middle school, you're getting more developed, and you're really trying to see who cares for you or not. And it's that weird thing how you appreciate it so young. And unfortunately what happened to me is I was really cut off by a lot of my family because of my dad. So I had very little family. So it was just like the people that you knew in your household is who you knew, and that's it. That's generally it. And it's very shocking that that's how life can be. And everybody may not have family, they may have a big family, and there's always somebody to talk to. For me, I didn't have anybody. I didn't have anybody to talk to except for teachers. And it's very, I guess, straining now that I look back at it as a child, telling these teachers like, what the hell is going on? They have enough on their plate. But I knew at the end of the day, a lot of these teachers gave a damn. And that's why they're here, where the teachers in the world make a difference no matter what. But for me, especially, they changed my life in a way for the better. And just grieving or just expressing yourself. And I realized probably about middle school where it's just better to feel nothing. And that's so horrible to say. And it's just like, I don't want to feel happiness. I don't want to feel joy. And when you do that, majority of your emotions become toxic and negative and everything in between, where you're just like, I hate this. Like you're living in the moment, but you're realizing, oh my god, I hate everything, and I can't comprehend it. I can't comprehend why. Because why feel joy when it's gonna be taken away tomorrow? The people that you talk with, they think, you know, in your mind they're gonna bully you or distance yourself. And I mean, in those years, 9 times out of 10, people that you know will leave you later on in life via high school, college. So I just distance myself. And the one thing that stuck with me is music. I love music, and it helped me laugh. It helped me not feel too sad. It pumped me up. It was that only thing where that was consistent throughout the years. And it's a shock. It truly is how music can impact someone like that. And you know, that's why music is such a commodity, where we need it in our lives. I truly think we need music. You could create music, you could listen to music, it is going to make you feel no matter what. Now with grieving, it's, in my opinion, it is not just about death. I don't feel like it is just about death. And I truly feel like it is with relationships as well. Just like the last few episodes ago, where we got down and dirty about relationships. We really did. And it definitely helped some of you, and it helped open your mind in a way. Grieving, in my opinion, is losing something or someone that you love dearly. That is my own word, where it is associated with death. It is majority about death, but in my mind, it's about something you lost, loved, and cherished. And it's crazy. It really is, because the one thing that's the biggest difference with a relationship, and they hurt you in a way that you couldn't even fathom, years go by, you're going to look back on your grieving and laugh about it. That's the only way that you can laugh about grieving right then and there, because you're like, why did I grieve over this loser or this person that hurt me? That's the funny thing about it, where if you love someone, you're not gonna laugh at them, but you're gonna laugh with them, tell stories and everything. What stories could you possibly have that you want to remember about a toxic relationship or a bad relationship? If that, yes, you love them, you really did, but at the end of the day, you're not with them for a reason. And you gotta take a lot of time to grieve. And this is such a weird thing where how long does the grieving process happen? That is not a question you could just type in Google and it'll give you an answer. It'll give you an answer, most likely, but you are the person dealing with how much you love them, how you handle things. It is a mental journey only you could go on. Other people could experience it with you, but you cannot do anything for it. You need to handle it through your thing. And I'm not going to say by yourself, because there you could have support, but everybody happens differently. If your father died and passed on, you are feeling a different emotion than your mother, because it's a different relationship, you know. And you got to count that into consideration. And sometimes you do have to put your feelings aside to help somebody else in that said form. And it's a mental journey. I mean, what I've done is I expect everything. I expect everything, that if they're ill, even if they're not, actually no, that's not true. If they're fine and healthy, I don't do this. But if they're ill, or if they don't want to do anything to help themselves, or something that said nature, my brain and my heart go into a process where I expect the worst. And unfortunately, I probably still do that to this day, where I have to expect it. Because if I don't expect it, phase 1 of shock is gonna hit me like a punch to the heart. And that's normally what death is, a punch to the heart. And for me, if I expect it, then the blow is going to graze a little bit. And I'm not saying this is excuse me, I'm not saying this is the right way, and I want to let you know on that, is it's probably not the right way. But if my brain processes the damage before it happens, I heal quicker. You know, when my uncle died and passed away, and nobody in the world could have expected it. He was healthy as a horse, and he passed on. And by God, in death, he has helped me so much. And even when he lived, he helped me. His soul is still with me, and I can't even thank him enough for that. And the first phase, it wasn't denial. I was in shock. I was completely in shock. And I basically skipped pain and guilt, and I went to anger. And anger and depression fused, and I just had that. I just had that. There was one thing that I will never forget. I was crying my eyes out, and I think every person does this that cares. And I told the gods, I wish it would have been me. Take my soul and let him live. And unfortunately, that did not happen. You know, my work on this world, in my opinion, is not done yet. I've had a grief time with the gods when I got hit by a car and I died, and I saw the pearly gates. And my pop said it wasn't my time, and I guess it still was not my time yet. But I won't forget that, because I felt it. You don't say that for anybody, you know. You say that for the people that you love and cherish. And I did. I said, all right, because I'm that type of person. I truly am, where still a lot of my points in the last 3 years, I've improved so much mentally and physically, where I care about myself and I love myself more than ever. But to a certain extent, he was one of those people that was over the totem pole. He had his own separate line where yeah, I'd take a bullet for him. And for me, I'm a very loyal person, and I have totem poles in my life on who I care about, what rank you are in my mind, and so on and so forth. Like, what would I do for you? There's a special kind of totem pole where absolutely I take a bullet for you because I care about you and love about you. And he was on there. And once somebody passes on, relationships in that tree grow distant. They could grow closer, but 9 times out of 10 they will grow distant, because that person was holding up the triangle of friendship and love. And once of the main structure leaves, why do you converse with them anymore? They had the common ground. Like, it's like a relation, it's like a friendship but in a triangle. They were at the top, you know, making you all feel warm and bubbly, and then boop, once that person's gone, it's just a straight line between you and the other person. And it's just a big deal. It could be such a big hassle, unfortunately, where it's hard. It hurts. It hurts. It really does, because you don't want that relationship to grow cold, but unfortunately sometimes it does, especially when it's in family. It is such a hard thing. And one thing that I want to definitely say on forth, where it is, as I've said, where it is not just about a death. It is between things or people that you care about. So yes, of course, you could grieve about your job. You could grieve about an animal. Animals especially are part of the family. And if you say otherwise, then I'm sorry, then you're wrong. Where there's a reason why you got this animal, where you love them so much and you adopted them and helped them and nurtured them. They are part of your family. And of course, you could grieve about a pet and so many things, where it's not just about a relationship. And depression and grieving are 2 different things, but from the same belly of the beast, in my opinion. They are truly this. They are similar. They are similar. And one thing that I definitely want to let people know on is, you need to handle your emotions. Where even the toughest SOB there is needs to cry. And that is something we all need to deal with. But make it, I'm not going to say unique, but it's okay to be like, it's not funny, but it's something to laugh at. I'm not saying laugh at grieving, but laugh at death itself. Because why fear something that you can't even control? You can't. Death could come up the next day, the same day. And why fear death? Why fear the unknown? Just live your life, because that's only going to hold you back, in my opinion. Where it's something to acknowledge but not fear. And that's something I don't fear, funny enough. Because maybe I've experienced it. I've been in death's door and it was locked and I couldn't get in. But that's for the best, because that's why I'm still here today, helping as many people as I can. There's always a method to the madness, if you will. You know, Mother Nature and Father Death. It's 2 things that why you can't control it. Why? But another thing before I let go with this episode is, I'd recommend, and I realized this too late, and it may sound silly, but you need somebody to confide to. A best friend, or I'd especially recommend a best friend. No one in your family, but yes, I know somebody in your family could be your best friend, but I digress. You need to tell them, and they need to understand, when you need me, I will be there. And that's it. That's it for anything. For anything. I'm very lucky I have that person in my life where I could be like, I need you right now. I need to talk to you. And they'll be like, oh, fuck. All right. And that's, if you don't have that person, you need to find that person, because once you find that rock or wall or somebody you could cherish and they could help you, your life will be much better, where they may not understand how you're feeling, but just the listening and the helpfulness that they could do that nobody else could do is really important to human nature. And that's really what I want to tell people, because it's true. It truly is. And grieving is something that will always happen in our life. But that is going to be it for grieving. It's a little short one today, but it's something that needed to be said. And I'd love to keep on reading your emails, if I'm honest with you. I love doing this, and now that I'm doing it 2 times a week, sometimes the minimum requirement is 20 minutes. Some topics need a part 2, some will just leave it on like that. But how I know a topic is done is if I don't get many emails from it. And don't forget, the email is also in the description down below. Send a topic, send something on your mind, send a question, send what you're going through, send something if you like. And I hope you're happy. I really enjoy you listening. And please do consider following the podcast on all major platforms: Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and more. But thank you everybody for watching. This has been Mr. Joe Wilde. Take care, and I will see you soon. I hope you're happy, because you made me happy. Bye-bye.